What's going on, hybrids? We're back with another video, and today we're going to be discussing why you might be losing strength when you start running. If you're someone that has gone from strength training and started to introduce more cardio or running into their training regimen, and you're finding that your strength is dropping, you're feeling weaker, maybe you're losing muscle, maybe your whole life is turning upside down because you're now like, what the fuck is happening to me? Everything I've worked so hard for is coming to an end. Don't stress. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down some reasons why you could be losing strength when you introduce running into your training program. I'm going to be giving you applicable tips and tricks that you can do in your training right now, as well as explaining some things that you might be doing wrong that are affecting your training at the moment. So let's not chat anymore. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let me give you as much info as I can to ensure that your strength stays where it is and continuously improves, and we don't go backwards anymore. Let's dive in. If these videos ever take off and I get thousands or millions of views, I'm going to be really upset my kitchen wasn't cleaner than what it is right now. I'll be honest. But because we're on the low view count side of things, I'm not too worried. When you start hybrid training, the amount of energy you expend greatly increases. When you do weight training or strength training alone, the amount of energy you expend in the gym isn't really that much. Total volume of continuous work that you do in the gym doesn't amount to a whole lot. Whereas the amount of work you do during a run is far greater. Because you're burning a lot more energy, you need to replace that with more food. The amount of energy you're burning is obviously going to be dependent from person to person. So there's no exact number or amount of food that you should be eating. However, a strategy that I often use, because my runs are quite long, on the days that I'm running, I tend to eat a little bit more. If I had to put a number on it, for me, it's about 500 calories more than what I would on a weight training day. However, if you're someone who's running way more than me, you might need even as much as 1,000 calories more on the days that you're running. In addition to that, your recovery capabilities can be very dependent on the amount of food that you are eating. If you are not eating enough, you may feel under-recovered. If you are eating plenty and getting more than enough food in your diet, you will generally find you feel a lot more recovered, you have a lot more energy when you step into the gym, which is obviously really important if you're trying to get strong. That is why you often see powerlifters are really big, or real good strength athletes are really big. They eat lots of food, and it's for a good reason. Eating a lot of food is both great for recovery, and more weight tends to move more weight as well. So if you are eating the same amounts of food that you were when you were purely strength training, I highly recommend you increase the amount of food you are eating now that you are both running and lifting. In particular, increase the total amount of calories you're having, obviously, but put extra focus on the amount of carbohydrates and protein you are eating in a given day. And last but not least, you need to be recovered if you want to be stronger. So being able to push more in the gym means you need to have more energy to do so. Eating a lot of food will obviously benefit that. Eating the same amount you were eating when you were purely strength training, I highly recommend you start to eat more now that you're training hybrid, or at least eat more on the days that you are doing your runs, because those days tend to burn a little bit more energy than the days you are strength training alone or resting. I just checked my weight on the scale. My weight is stable. Good. If I hopped on the scale and my body weight is down, should I expect to be able to lift more every day I come in the gym? Should I be able to push more weight as I'm coming into the gym? There's a reason why heavier people are stronger. Check your weight regularly. If you find your body weight is decreasing, then you are clearly not eating enough. So obviously, making sure you eat enough is important, but your body weight is also going to be a great indicator of your food intake and your strength. If you find you are dramatically lighter than what you were when you were at your strongest, that probably means you are not eating enough. Now that you have introduced running, there is very little chance that you are going to be as strong or be able to get stronger if your body weight is continuously coming down. Because one, you are not eating enough, and that is reducing your recovery demands. And two, weight is required to push or move weight, which often means that if you are heavier, bigger people are going to lift more weight than lighter people. So if you are intentionally trying to drop weight, that's fine. Let your weight drop Your runs will probably feel great, but keep in mind your strength is probably going to suffer because of it. But if your weight is dropping just because you're exercising more and you actually aren't doing this deliberately, then it just means you need to eat more. Ideally, if you want to be getting stronger, your weight should be averaging around the same all the time or increasing slowly, because that is going to be more beneficial for strength gains than having your body weight decrease is in most cases. You're not training the movements you're trying to get stronger at frequently enough. When you're purely training for strength, you're able to just go in the gym and do more movements that are similar at least to that movement that you're originally trying to get stronger at, which may benefit you. Because you're training for strength alone, you might go in the gym and do barbell bench one day, flat dumbbell bench the other day. When you start training hybrid, because we're now running and that may take up some of our time that we have towards training, you may actually be doing less total work for whatever it is you're trying to get stronger at. So when you were purely strength training, you might have been doing 20 sets of pressing movements in a week without even realizing. But now that you're doing hybrid training, because you've had to take some of those gym sessions and make them running sessions, maybe you're only doing 10 total working sets for pressing movements now. So I highly recommend, look back on your old program, see how much work you were doing in a week, see the amount of sets, reps, weight you were lifting, then compare it to whatever you're doing right now. Is it dramatically different? It might be. Now that you're running, it's very unlikely that you're doing the exact same amount of work as you were when you were purely strength training. For me, for example, I was doing up to 30 to 40 sets in a week of bench pressing, squats, or whatever it was. But now that I'm running as well, I physically don't have enough time, nor can my body handle that much work while I'm also running. So the amount of work I'm doing in each gym session, although is challenging, is actually not as much as what I used to do, because I physically cannot handle it, and also I don't have the time to get it all in, even if I wanted to. I have no intention of having 4-hour gym sessions. Look at the amount of work that you were doing before, look at the amount of work you're doing now. If it's less, you may need to try to figure out a way to slowly increase it to get you back to where you were before, or take out some of that junk volume that you've been doing, things like, biceps, rear delts. Maybe they can be taken out of the program so you have a little bit more time to spend on the things that you're trying to get better at, like bench press. In addition to that, if you're only doing the movement once per week, trying to get better at squatting, and your squat is suffering and you're trying to get better at it, but now you're only doing it once a week when you used to do it twice, it's a clear indication that you need to increase the frequencies. Maybe you want to go from doing it once a week now to try to figure out a way to do it twice a week. Even though you're running, you need to figure out a way to get it back up, because your squat clearly responds better to doing it more frequently, as well as it's gone from having it done more frequently to now doing it less. It is actually less total work. So you do find you're probably not going to increase strength as easily, and you may even get a slight drop in strength due to the total loss of work that you are doing for that movement. So look at the total amount of work you're doing. Is it the same as what you used to do? If not, try to increase it slowly to get it back to where it was. Alternatively, if you're only training each movement once per week, figure out a way to get it in more than once per week. Maybe you want to do it twice, 3 times. Keep that in mind. Frequency, as well as the amount of total work you're doing, modify those. You're not getting stronger because you're not recovering enough. You can do as much work as you want in the gym, but if you are not recovering from those hard training sessions, you will not get stronger. You will continuously carry around a level of fatigue that will mask your strength gains. If you are feeling extremely fatigued and flat out fucked all the time, there is very little chance that you're going to go in the gym and be able to lift more weight than you did the previous time. If you want to get stronger, you need to ensure you are recovering well from your gym sessions. And now that you are training hybrid, you also need to ensure you're recovering well from your running sessions. Doing those two things together requires more recovery capabilities in order to continuously progress both of them simultaneously. You need to be recovering. I've already touched on diet, I'm not going to go over that again, but other things that you may want to look at if you do find your recovery is being hindered. Maybe you're doing too much work, so there is a good chance that you're either doing way too much in the gym or way too much running to be able to let those strength gains come to fruition. Maybe you haven't deloaded in a long time. Keep in mind, you do deload your gym sessions, but you also need to deload your running sessions. Running also requires reductions in fatigue in order to improve. But if you haven't deloaded your running, which utilizes your legs in a long period of time, it is 100% going to be fatiguing your deadlifts or squats or lower body exercises in the gym that you're trying to get stronger at. So there are some strategies that you can do. One, Evaluate the amount of work you're doing. Is it enough for you to be able to recover from? If you feel like you're doing too much, do a little bit less for a couple weeks and see how you feel. Obviously, ensure your diet is adequate to support the demands of the exercise that you're doing. Plan some lighter and harder days. Harder days will be days that are dedicated for you to lift heavier in the gym. Lighter days are days that are designed strategically to be a little bit lighter, but still allowing you to practice the movements you're trying to get stronger at. If my primary bench press day is on a Monday where I'm going to go heavy, my Wednesday session will also be a bench press session, but it can be a little bit lighter. That still allows me to practice the movement, but because it is a lighter session and not that hard, it doesn't compound as much on top of the amount of fatigue I'm experiencing while still giving me the practice I need. You may need to manipulate the volume and intensity you're doing. So if you're doing a lot of running earlier in the week, maybe you want to have your harder gym sessions later in the week. Try to have those things away from each other to ensure that you're as strong as you can be on the days you're stepping in the gym. If you want to try and squat heavy on a Friday, it's probably a good idea to have an easy run on the Thursday. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to have a really hard run on a Thursday and then expect to be able to back it up with a heavy squat session on a Friday. So little things like that where you manipulate your training week can also be super valuable. Ultimately, the key here is to optimize your recovery in the best way that suits you to produce the work you need to when you step in the gym. If your running sessions are impacting your lifting sessions, you need to change your week around. If you're doing too much work in the gym that you're not recovering from, you need to reduce the amount of work that you're doing. If you're not eating enough, you need to sort that out. If you're not getting enough sleep, definitely sort that out. I mentioned before, because you're now training hybrid, the recovery demands are much greater. You're doing a whole lot more total work. Your body is going to require a lot more recovery capacity. It's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take a little while to adjust, but you can still definitely progress if you're able to find the amount of work that you can handle, the amount of work that you can progress from, the amount of work you can recover from, and back it up again in the following weeks with more hard training. And that's a wrap on another video, reasons why you may find you're getting weaker when you train hybrid. If you're someone that has been in strength training in the past, started to introduce running into your program, and you're wondering why you're getting weaker and weaker, that video was for you. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you got some things that you can apply to your training right now. As always, if you need help with your hybrid training and you're just sick of chasing your tail, let me do the thinking for you. I've got online coaching spots available to anyone, anywhere in the world. Visit my website or DM me on Insta. Hope you enjoyed the video. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, please. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.